Hello, you lovely, lovely, lovely people, and welcome back. Where are my eyes going? Welcome back to The Library is Open. So I hope you have brought your library cards, my darlings. This is a Sunday morning, so I'm very much Blondie's Sunday girl today, and I'm here to spill tea, sniff books, and answer questions. So I just want to say thank you so much to everybody who left me a question on my terribly bad film quality video, Ask a Snook Biffer. And you, in your thousands, you responded. In your thousands, I tell you. No, not really. But that's all right, because I don't want thousands. I want you lovely people. So you've asked me lots of questions, and what I've done is I've only sort of cursorily looked over them, and you know, so as not to plan my answers, because I kind of think it's fun if I just sort of experience them in the moment and answer what I think. That could be dangerous, but we'll find out. So what I've done is I've put them into a random choice generator. So I'll just click through and answer the questions at random, and hopefully that'll be good. Because there are quite a few questions, I'll probably do 2 parts to this video. Ooh. I hope we're appreciating the fact that the film quality is better now. By the way, I have recently changed my phone, and I also got a really decent ring light, as recommended by my lovely Paul and Jay from Those Vegan Guys. If you haven't subscribed, their link is down below. And while you're at it, why not subscribe to the Vegan Queens as well? Those tantalising purveyors of not tat, good stuff, good quality content. So anyway, got some tea. Let's spill it. Hopefully not on me, because my t-shirt's already a little bit see-through. Ooh, controversial. And let's go with the first question, shall we? Ooh, so this is from the lovely, lovely Star Cradle. Thank you very much for all your questions. They were so considered, and I'm really grateful for that. Thank you. What are your favourite foods / dishes? Now this is interesting. I'm very, very, very Gemini, as in the star sign, not Gemini of the Vegan Queens, although we do share very similar attributes. In the sense that when it comes to things like food, I don't want to say picky, because I'm not picky per se. I think it's more specific. That is a word I would prefer to use. And I also do, which apparently is a Gemini trait, I also get quite fixated on certain dishes. So I will eat the same things over and over again, and I have quite like a systematic approach sometimes to eating. So I'll tell you some of my favourite things, but they're not necessarily what I eat all the time. I love, probably my enduring love is pizza. I absolutely love pizza. You know, with the binding passion. I do think pineapple belongs on it. I am in that team. I'll pretty much have anything on pizza as long as it's animal free, you know, but that is probably my favourite food. I love, what else do I love? I love Chinese food. I love the fact that a lot of it is accidentally, whatever, vegan. Tofu is a huge one. There's a beautiful, or there was, I should say, there was a beautiful little buffet style place in Manchester. I think it was China City or something. On, what street was it on? I think it was on Princess Street, that I used to go to a lot, and they just used to do sort of like, this beautiful tofu dish, and you could just like help yourself, obviously, because that's how a buffet works, Stuart. But yeah, I love that. Anything ricey, anything pasta-y. But I am quite a nibbly eater, in terms of I don't really like feeling full. So I like little things that I can pick at. So they're kind of my favourite sorts of meals. I suppose that explains the pizza thing, because you can eat it in very sort of, you know, put down, chat. But I also really just love vegetables. Like, I'm not really sounds daft, but I could happily sit there and eat, like, I don't know, like a bowl of beans or something. That would be fine. Or spinach, I love, just to sit and eat. Sun-dried tomatoes, although I always make the same mistake though, because I get like a jar and I just sit eating them, and then, you know, because they're so rich, that very quickly I'm I'm very quickly sort of like, oh, nope, shouldn't have done that. So, you know, you get the accidental shut up computer, you get the accidental fullness. So, that's probably a really rubbish answer, isn't it? But I don't really have a sort of enduring sort of favourite thing. But pickiness. I'd probably be really good at tapas, actually. There you go. Okay, thank you for that. So next question. From PC Orton. Hello. Where do the books end up after you've read them? You can't possibly keep them all. Funny you should say. So a couple of, I was going to say years then, but I actually think it's just months. I did a sort of book unhaul. I do find it quite difficult to part with books, which is, I don't know how I feel about that. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I think it's a good thing. In some respects, although it has negative consequences because I genuinely don't really have enough storage for all the books that I have. But I do keep a lot of them, I'm not going to lie. Maybe I'll do an updated room tour. Spoiler, it won't look any different. There will just be more things. Because I haven't managed yet to escape that sort of consumerist thing when it comes to books. Quite good at resisting it when it comes to clothes and things like that. So that's good. But yeah, so what do I do with them? I keep them mostly, and if I'm going to donate them, well, it's been really difficult because of COVID, obviously, and stuff like that. So I will give them to charities, usually local charities, British Heart Foundation, that's national, but all like local hospices and things like that. I sometimes pass them on to friends, but I do keep an awful lot of them, and I think you know, maybe at some point after the pandemic is over, whenever that is, I will go through again and just be really, really honest about valuing things that maybe there were a question mark on when it came to an unhaul. But if you are interested in looking at some of the stuff that I unhauled and what I did with them, then the videos are on my channel. You can just search unhaul. Thank you for that question. What else we got? Okay. Oh, this is from Animals Are Innocent. Hello. My question is this. What is your all-time favourite book, fiction, that you would take to a desert island if you were only allowed one book? Ooh, good question. It's so hard to answer things like this, isn't it? Like, I get... it's really hard when it comes to things like films, like your #1 film or your #1 song. I don't really know the answer to those because I'm quite... Although I am habitual, I'm also quite emotionally responsive. But if I'm forced to choose, and I think that I am, I would probably pick... It's going to have to be, isn't it? It's going to have to be the original, the seminal. It's going to have to be Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. I can't explain to you just how much I love that book. And I know it's really cliche and it's not exactly out there or anything like that, but... You know, from the first time I read it, it just resonated so deeply with me. I don't mean resonated in the sense that I recognised any of myself in it, but it just felt joyful and clever and witty and funny and satirical, but also tender and you know, Lizzie Bennet is one of the most enduring heroines, heroes, let's say heroes actually, because why should it be separated, in fiction, in my opinion. I suspect, although I don't know because I'm not a qualified historian or anything, I suspect that Lizzie might be the one who's closest to Jane herself in terms of outlook on life. You know, she's one of those people you sort of think if there was a modern day version, you'd proper, like, get on well with her. Like, you go to a wine bar or something. Well, I don't drink, but, you know, and just have, like, a chat about love, life, and the universe. What I will caveat that with is I will have a 2-in-1 book because I will sandwich it in with Bridget Jones's Diary by Helen Fielding, which, if you're not aware, I'm sure you are, is the modern or contemporary, well, the 90s, update of Pride and Prejudice. And I just think Helen Fielding's writing is incredible. She really captures the spirit of the novel and of the character, Lizzie Bridget. And, you know, makes it work in a new, well, several centuries later. And And it's just so funny. It's one of those books you can read from cover to cover and dip in and dip out of, and that's something both of those books share. And I think I find something different and clever and hilarious, but also really quite poignant in many ways, in the sense that you recognise that things haven't changed all that much over the centuries. Our basic fundamental human needs are very similar, and it's just the circumstances around us that change. So I think those two, and I know that's cheating, and I'm really sorry, animals are innocent, but you know, that this is me. So there we go. Good question though. This is from Emma Silito. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. If I'm not, then I do apologise profusely. Where did your passion for all things books come from? Oh, and I've double billed this with Sassy Girl, who asked a similar question. Hiya. Hi, Stuart. Did you read a lot as a child? I did. I think the answer to these is probably quite similar, which is why I've grouped them together. So I read an awful lot as a child, I think. I've been sort of reflecting on that, whether there was a culture of that in my home and with my parents. I think, well, my mum and my grandma, because I grew up at my grandparents' house, where I lived with my mum, my auntie, my grandma, and my grandpa. And, you know, there was a sort of respect for reading, but I don't think that people read an awful lot or constantly that I saw, so I don't really know where it came from. My nan had a lot of books, things that had been given to her in like prize givings at school when she was at school, and I remember sort of going through those, and she had some really old, I remember this, she had some really old versions of the Enid Blyton books, so The Secret Seven, a couple of the Famous Five. And then I think I think I enjoyed those, and then we started going to charity shops. So I think that's, you know, where that sort of encouraged me from. I do remember being at school in reception class. So you're like, for people that are not from the UK, that's 4, you turn 4 and you start reception, which is the first year at primary school. And in the first year, you got your first reading book, and it was very basic. It was called Roger Red Hat, or it was called Red, and Roger Red Hat was the character. It was like this series. They had like Roger Red Hat, Billy Blue Hat, Johnny and Jennifer Yellow Hat, Percy Green Hat, Mrs. Brown Hat, and all these business. You know, there was like colours, and they were literally just like pictures of objects that were in that colour, and you learnt the word basically. And I remember so vividly being given my first reading book, Red, when it was deemed my time to start, and being so excited that I actually got in trouble for being silly, which in some respects could actually have been quite detrimental and led me to associate reading with, you know, being censured or misbehaving or something. But thankfully it didn't, and it kind of grew from there. And, you know, I think in many ways, I think I was quite, I've said this before on my channel, but I think books were my friends. Like, I did have friends when I was a kid, but I've always been quite a introspective person. I was an introspective child, and I think sometimes I often felt quite, not lonely, that's the wrong word, but alone is a better word. And so I think the books became my refuge, my solace, which makes it sound a lot more tragic than it was. It wasn't tragic. It was exciting, and it was curated. It was a world curated by me, particularly when, you know, as I started to get older, and I, you know, I was, you know, called names quite heavily as a child, and things like that, which sort of, again, made me invert. Not that I was unpopular or anything, because there was a weird kind of dichotomy there. So, you know, that didn't happen with reading. You know, it felt like a skill, and in some respects I think it was a skill I cultivated subconsciously to sort of fight against that. There was something about associating it with cleverness, smartness, intelligence that I liked and still like to this day, although I'm not silly enough to believe that it's the you know, the only way you could show that you were smart. But yeah, there's something about the power of knowledge, isn't there? Be that fictional, non-fictional knowledge, whatever, that kind of really appealed then and still does. So the short answer is yes, I did. And the longer answer is there are several reasons why. So I hope that answered your questions, both of you. Thank you for that. God, I'm going on for quite a while already. It's 1:15. Maybe this video will end up being loads of parts. Who can say? Next question. Oh, Trudy McBurney, this is from Instagram. Hello. Do you like Armistead Maupin Tales of the City? I did answer this on Instagram, but I will answer it again. I love Armistead Maupin. If you're not familiar, he is the author of Tales of the City, which was originally serialized in, I believe, a newspaper in San Francisco and then collected. So it was like a series of newspaper columns about these characters on Barbary Lane. It's also on, there was also a TV series, and it's on Netflix now, and it was very, very queer, and about, you know, this spectrum of characters beginning in the 70s in San Francisco, led by our main protagonist, which is, well, I think we have two main protagonists. We have like Mouse, Michael Tolliver, who's a queer man, and also Mary Ann Singleton, who moves to San Francisco and sort of from quite a, conservative background, and becomes opened. And, you know, as the books have progressed throughout the years, I think the last one was The Last Days of Anna Madrigal. I could be wrong. And there's since been an updated Netflix series as well that sort of reimagines the series, or rather continues it for the 21st century. That's a very good series. But I love Armistead Maupin. I think he has a tenderness of hand, while not being afraid of, like, viscerally cutting very quickly to, you know, the emotional impact of things. So if you haven't read Tales of the City, I definitely recommend checking it out. They do start off more columny, like Sex and the City did originally by Candice Bushnell, but then as we go along they become more sort of novel-like, which I think I prefer. I do need to read his memoir Logical Family, actually, which I haven't yet got around to reading, which is bad of me. I just slapped my own wrist there, but you couldn't even see it on camera, so that was pain for no reason. But yes, I do love Armistead Maupin. Great. Vanessa M. It's nice being invited to ask questions, isn't it? It makes me feel like I'm not being nosy. Be nosy, Vanessa. I am so nosy. Not because I want dirt on people or anything like that. I just like to know things. Do you have a favourite summer holiday book that you reread? I always reread Joanne Harris's Blackberry Wine in the summertime, but would like something new this year for my summer holiday in the garden. Ooh, now you'd like Charles Heathcote. Sorry, he is a big fan of Joanne Harris, so I will link his channel in the description. He has loads of great bookish content and is also an author, very good author of, what would I call them? Beautifully tender but hilarious contemporary novels, I guess I would say, but also crime, cozy crime. But yeah, I'm explaining this very badly, which is why I'm not currently employed as Charles's PR officer. But yeah, do I have a favourite summer book? I don't think I do, actually. There are genres that I gravitate more towards, I think, in summer. I think I gravitate a lot to sort of cozier crime novels. Like, I don't do that all year. But, you know, things like more classic ones, I suppose. Things like Agatha Christie, obviously my default go-to. I really enjoy in the summertime because, you know, particularly the ones that were written and set abroad. So things like Murder in Mesopotamia, Death on the Nile. What's another one that's... Death in the Clouds, things like that. There's something about the locale being different that I really, really enjoy. And even though I know... It's funny with Agatha Christie because I usually know the murders because I pretty much read all the Poirots and Miss Marples, but sometimes I forget, and then I'm like, oh yeah, it was that person. So I suppose the answer there is that no, I don't have a specific one, but I do have a sort of genre that I return to. Good question. You got me thinking now. Maybe I'll choose one for this summer and that'll become a new thing. There you go. You've inspired me, Vanessa. Next one. This is Star Cradle again. Do you enjoy books on philosophy? And if so, would you ever discuss such material on a vlog or during a digital book meeting? Yeah, it's funny actually. I think I am more ponderous on philosophy than I am well-read. I sort of have rudiments of philosophy, as opposed to, you know, a full-on system that I subscribe to and or read extensively around. I have just read, I mean, I haven't just read, I have just bought, who's it by? Let's find out. See, this is the benefit of having the laptop going at the same time. We can find out, oh, there we go. I have just bought, on the recommendation of a friend, a copy of Douglas Hofstadter's I Am a Strange Loop, which I think counts as philosophy. It's basically the idea of how we discuss, embellish, find out about our sense of self, basically, through a series of looped interactions whereby we are reflected back at ourselves. I do think a lot about philosophical things, or sometimes I think they're just thoughts, and then I go, I suppose that is quite philosophical actually, come to think of it. So yeah, I think I would be really up for talking about that. Maybe I'll do a video on Strange Loop when I've read it, like a sort of deep dive into it. I'm quite familiar on, I say quite familiar, not like I go on Mastermind or anything, or not even Family Fortunes, if I'm honest, with the sort of Greek philosophers and theologians. I just said that word twice for no reason. Mostly I think that's to do with like my theatre training though, because obviously a lot of stuff comes from, well, it doesn't actually, a lot of it comes from Africa, but is then interpreted by the Greeks, and then Greek philosophy has sort of pervaded, and that touches a lot on the plays and the writings of the time. So I know bits about that. But yeah, what a great idea. I think that's a really good idea actually, and something I'm definitely up for chatting about. If you have any recommendations, by the way, particular philosophical texts that you enjoy, why don't you drop them in the comments, and maybe we'll do a special. Maybe we shall do a special. Lovely, thank you. Let's do one more, I think, for this one. Oh, this is a nice one to finish on, I think. Emma Salito, thank you for doing this, Stuart. Thank you, Emma, for watching. I really appreciate you. You seem to have your finger in many pies. Eddie Pie hands. So what do you consider your real job? That's a great question. Artist is what I would call my real job, in one form or another, I think. Just make this light a bit brighter. Oh, it's as bright as it goes. Artist, I think. I do have my hands in a lot of pies, which is quite normal for someone who works in the creative industries, you know, as I'm sure you'll be aware of. So I am a professional actor, writer, drag performer, teacher, lecturer, theatre maker, I guess, as well. And I think for me they're not separate. You know, a lot of people have sort of said, is it difficult, you know, sort of balancing your making work career with your teaching career? No, because I don't see them as separate. I think they're all part of my practice. So while they look like very sort of disparate things in some respects, I think they're actually quite interlinked. Like the work I do with my students feeds into my own practice and vice versa. And, you know, my writing feeds my acting, feeds my theatre making, feeds my teaching. It's like a continuous circle. The opposite of a vicious circle. It's actually quite a kind circle. But I would say artist, or artistic practitioner, I guess, is if we want to get technical and, you know, job titly. And I kind of love it. I really, really kind of do love that differentiation, but also in finding the connections between those things and how they link together and how they differ as well. So that's a great question, I think. It's almost philosophy itself, isn't it? So there we go. Okay, we're up to 25 minutes. I actually think I'm going to call it there for now, and maybe I'll make this a series of videos, actually. Would that be okay with you all? I think, and then I'll just do like a couple of questions a week or something till I've done them all. Otherwise, we'll be here for bleeding hours, I tell you, hours. And I know it's a lot to ask people to sit there for hours to watch me chatting on. Thank you so much for all those questions, and like I say, I will film more and answer as many. In fact, I'll answer them all eventually, so, you know, stay tuned for that. Okay, so with that being said, let's all put our library cards somewhere safe. I don't know what sound that was, but there we go. That's what it shall be. For the library is now closed, albeit temporarily. I hope you are all having a wonderful week whenever you're watching this. Maybe you're watching this in 2025, in which case I hope things are going better for you than they are for the rest of the world right now. But in the meantime, please do take care of yourselves and take this huge digital hug from me. Keep sniffing those books, keep spilling that tea, and I will see you in my next video. Much love. Mwah.